Hello.
Hello.
Hey everyone, how are you guys doing today?
Yeah, doing great. Thanks, Maya. How are you?
Hey, Maya.
I'm doing great, but during this interview, my voice may kind of go out because the internet is down here. But yeah, I'm happy and I'm pumped and can't wait to speak.
Yeah, pleasure to have you. I was going to say welcome to the Mental Health Collective's Talking Rubbish podcast, episode 2. This week we've got Maya, who is a multi-talented artist, Spaces host, podcast creator, and public speaker, and she's done all of that. Only 15 years old, so we're really looking forward to speak to her today. How are you then?
Yeah, I'm doing really fine. I'm just gonna tweet this out really quickly. Forgot to do that. Okay, yeah, I'm doing really good.
Yeah, really excited to have you on the podcast. I mean, like what you've done so far, I'm just absolutely amazed. I'm sure Fun's got a lot to ask as well. But yeah, I think we met.
I've just got to stop you and say, man, that was good. You're getting better at the introductions. Maya, we're new to the podcast, and I like to mess with Mence, and I think you did a good job with that introduction. Mence, you're awesome. Do you want to? We should probably share what we do too, so that just in case Maya isn't aware. If you're not aware, Maya, Mental Health Collective, we've been doing. We try to focus on mental health and promoting mental health and really just support anybody who is positively affecting the NFT community as a whole. So we've recently started this podcast. We've recently started this new venture where we kind of seek out people that we think are worthy of like a spotlight, and we think that this talking rubbish helps.
That sounds great. I love what you guys are doing. I know like a lot of people when crypto's going down, like their mental health may get kind of bad, and so I think it's important to like refocus and make sure that you're doing good mentally before you even think about financially, because I think we'd all like if we had you'd rather like have your life than $15 million, for example. So yeah, I think this is great.
Ooh, you had to say my sweet number, 15 million. I would definitely take a second to make the decision though.
I don't
Yeah,
think
I would too.
I don't think you get much chance to enjoy it though. But yeah, I think you raise a really good point there. Obviously, with the markets being down at the moment, a lot of people are going to be very like stressed, anxious, and obviously that is a massive effect on mental health and even just like the NFT communities in general. I think there are quite a few like underlying problems with like one of them, the main ones used to be like whitelist grinding. Obviously, people are getting no sleep at all because they're having to stay up all hours, like spamming LFG and discords and stuff. But I think as well, like you say, with the bear market,
When moon.
yeah, when mood. I think with the bear market coming that's come as well. Obviously, there's that extra factor as well. So I think yeah, you're totally right. I think a lot of people will be like seeking a lot of mental health support through the current conditions. So we're just happy we can provide like a space where people can feel like they've heard and can like essentially just voice their concerns and just feel welcomed and validated essentially.
Actually, I got a question based on that. So, Maya, this is for you. Uh, I first of all, I have to say, super impressed with everything that you've done, you're doing, and I'm super excited for everything you're gonna do. Please keep doing what you're doing. But when there's a bear market, right? There's people who are affected emotionally and financially because there's a lot of expectations that come. There's a lot of there's a big age group in this space that are like funding because they've missed a lot of opportunities in the past, like the .coms, like the social media boom, and now they just don't want to miss these NFTs, understandably, and I support that. But a lot of people are overly invested. A lot of people have to provide for homes. They have debt. They have families, and that's why I think that they're hurting hard. Um, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I actually mean this in a unique. You're Maya. I think you're in a unique position because I would argue that you have maybe less less of a risk because maybe you don't have that stuff. But I don't know what your thoughts on that, like being a young investor or a person who's younger in that space.
Yeah. So I think, before I even speak, I'm 15, I don't have to pay bills. I'm young, so I can take more risks. So this will be I think what I do at least is going to be different than what most people in this space should do because of, I'm one of the few that is actually under 18. So I have a total different perspective on what I should invest in, and etc. But I think in general, uh, when things like this happen, you may feel like you're dumb or stupid. But I just think, okay, so Michael Saylor runs a company. He's very old, has billions of dollars to move, and he's still mismanaging his money at that age and with that amount of money. And now he's like down, I think, with unrealized loss of like $1 billion plus. So when you put that
Oof.
in perspective, yeah, I feel a lot better about the potential loss of money that I have. It's like I learned this lesson now, and if I can just remember this and not let it happen to me again, that makes me feel better. So when I see stuff like that, it just reminds me of how actually good I have it, and it makes me a little bit more grateful. And then the second thing is, I also feel like, so I actually was talking about this before, ironically, which was that I kind of compare a lot of things to gaming because we kind of all understand gaming, and so I feel like it's kind of like a game when you have these struggles that maybe potentially makes you depressed or stressed. It's kind of like a game in the sense that there's levels and there's obstacles and there's rewards, and so it's just like the same thing in your life. Think about a time in the past you've had struggles or you were depressed and stressed. Well, that was like the first level, and you probably got over it. You like passed through all the obstacles, and then there were likely rewards at the end. Just like in gaming, there's level one. It's somewhat it's not really very hard for the obstacles, but there are obstacles, and then there's a reward. And so maybe right now you're at level 10, and so at level 10, less people got to level 10. So I applaud you for that, for still being here. But then at level 10, there's going to be way more obstacles. It's going to take you way more tries, a longer time to get past it, if you can get past it. And the obstacles are going to look different, and it's going to be way harder, things you've never seen before. But the key thing is, if you get past it, the rewards are usually more than 10 times greater than the last time you've done it. And so basically, I like to think about it that way, kind of like a gaming. It always gets way harder before you level up. And so I think of all the times that I struggled in the past, got past it, and I got that reward. So I feel like, okay, now I'm just at a way higher level. And if I can get past this, like there's no telling where I will be once I get past it. And so that helps me keep going. Just thinking about kind of those two things.
Yeah, I really like that analogy, and obviously, like you said, you, you don't have as much like with bills and so to speak. But I think the experience that you'll gain, obviously, if you're tied into games as well. I do play MMOs now and again, so I'm a bit of a degen in that respect as well. But like you
You've probably
said,
never made it to level 10 though.
yeah, I'm stuck on level 9. But I think, like you say, it's the experience you'll gain as well, and like this will be many people's first like bear market. I remember the one we had last time after we made the first high on Bitcoin, and I remember that was the time of ICOs and stuff. I don't know if you remember them, but it was essentially they were called initial coin something. It was basically like startups, and just as like Bitcoin was going to its first high, that's when all these like companies were doing these ICO offerings and stuff. Like basically, like you pre-invest and get these coins essentially, and all of them like dropped. But like the experience that I gained through that helped me massively, like to prepare for this bear market as well. And I think tying it into the gaming as well, like you say, it's just gaining that experience and obviously you'll get the rewards when you've essentially, if we call it a level, you've essentially survived the level, gained the experience, and then you get to reap the rewards when obviously the markets recover. Maya?
I agree. But I think a lot of people who got into NFTs lately, in kind of the same time that I got into it, which was very recently. Well, actually, it was almost a year ago, which I guess is kind of recently. So I was in stocks, and I think a lot of people were when SPACs and Tesla was going up, EV companies were going up so much. Everyone was actually like kind of considered a genius because everything was going up. But then when everything was going down, everyone else was like, "Oh, we're dumb," and that's how I felt at the same time. But I still invested, still stayed in this space, and still interacted and spoke, and I documented my journey, even though it was me not doing so well. I documented my journey, which led me to meet other people, talk to them, and then I found out about this NFT space. And then, as you guys know, or if you don't know, well, I got into the NFT space August 2021 after being gifted an NFT by a friend in the stock space. And I was talking to him even while all of our stocks, all the stocks, EV stocks, SPACs were going down. And so I was talking. And so it's also very important to talk and build and not stay silent and be quiet during a bear market. And so that's what I did. I met, and then we just end up talking about NFTs. So August 2021, I got into NFTs. I modded for Discords, made some money off of that, entered some giveaways, made some money off of that, and invested about $400 of my own money into NFTs. And then I was horrible at investing, but in the NFTs. So I decided like, okay, I'm good at art. I'm good at investing. Well, I'm not good at investing, but I kind of understand the investing thing. It's kind of fun. Um, I do have my bangers every once in a while, maybe one out of 100. But so I also like speaking. If you can't tell, I'm ranting. But so all these like passions that like take me away from the things I'm supposed to do, maybe I can monetize it with NFTs, and then maybe have some more money to spend on these NFTs I want, rather than putting my money into it. So just betting on myself and investing time and building in the market was better for me than investing in the market. So that's what I did. I started that the beginning of this year, actually January 1st, 2022, I started my NFT collection, and in a couple months, like 3 months, I made over 10 grand selling my NFTs. And so that's just what I always think about. And another thing I think about at the same time, August 2021, I tore my ACL, which is my knee, and so basically, I couldn't move my knee like forward and backwards, and so I couldn't play the sports that I played, soccer and track. So I had so much extra time. I played sports my whole life, so I had so much extra time, and I was already in stocks and talked about NFTs with these other kids. So I was like, okay, let me just dive deeper with my extra time into these things. Rather than, when kids usually can't play sports, they go on the wrong path and maybe start doing bad things to get attention. I was like, let me just explore my other things and follow my curiosities. Um, and so, I made over 10 grand in that time period, that school year, basically. So instead of just being depressed about my leg or whatever, I was like, everything happens for a reason, is what I learned from that. And I just, took the right path, and I'm happy about that. Now, my ACL is repaired again. I can play sports again. And now I have actually 10 grand, which is going to help me in my life. And so, just making the most out of everything, because everything happens for a reason.
I love all of that. I'm sorry that you got hurt, but it's really cool that there was a silver lining and that you ended up finding like a way to replace that in a positive way. It's a good story. I love it, and I'm happy that you're feeling better. I back to the point where you mentioned like you've had some losses. I'm just thinking out loud. Like when I was 15, I if I lost like $20 that like I had my jeans or something, that would ruin my month. I would probably like be in a bad mood, and the what's the word, like the fortitude that you're showing so early on, Maya, and just kind of like to bounce back and to find silver linings and to keep going. You're positioning yourself to be in a really good position in the future. The more you mature and the more you grow and the more experience you gain. So I just wanted to give you a shout out on that. And I also really like that you said something about how when when the market's high, we look like geniuses. We're riding a high, we feel good, and when the market is low, we look like fools and we get down on ourselves. And you mentioned that you share your losses, that you're open about it. And personally, I immediately see how that's mental health related. There is something to be said about sharing your losses, because when it comes to social media, we love to show our highlights. We love to share when we make the $10,000. By the way, congrats. But a lot of people don't share when they lose 20 grand on a bet, right? So, can you speak a little bit about like why you do that? Like what was your reasoning for like sharing those losses when you were down?
Yeah, it was mainly because I just was so I did it on YouTube, and so I always had to produce content, and I was trying to monetize my content. So that was another reason, like mainly that. It was, I'm trying to grow this YouTube channel and just document my journey, even though it could potentially be bad calls. I'm just documenting and learning. That was my whole thing. Like I was actually consuming YouTube, but stock investors content, and then I don't know how, but someone told me like I should start my own YouTube channel, and I was like, I'm not good at it. I don't know what a PE ratio is, what free cash flow is, what a public company really is, any
I
of
don't know what
that.
that means either.
But well, at the time I didn't, but now I do, and it was me just documenting my journey, showing them the progress, and I'm happy to look back on it. And it's also good that I did that because I can look back on it and say, at that time I wasn't doing well, and I probably thought, I lost all my money, this is horrible, and just go on and be like every other kid. But I didn't, and I'm happy about that. And so I like documenting my journey because I've been making a lot of connections with people uh, from doing that as well. It's really good to document your journey. There's so many opportunities that has happened for me because I did that. Even though I did horrible and lost a lot of money, I've been able to now make way more than that with NFTs and stuff. And so I don't know. I just think documenting your journey is amazing, and I'm starting to do that with the podcast, like you guys as well now. And I'm excited about that as well. It's super fun.
I saw
Yeah,
in your last Mence, I wanted to real quick on the topic of podcasts before you go. I saw on Maya's last episode because I heard it because I wanted to just get a vibe for Maya. By the way, you're great at your podcast, Maya. I wanted to give you a shout out on that. I think you prepared great questions and it was just easy to listen to, and just definitely wanted to give you a shout out. But there was a stat that you shared with Benjamin Mence that um, most podcasts don't make it past seven episodes, and if you make it past 20 episodes, that you're kind of like in the top 1%. And I don't know if it's true or not, but I believe it, and I like to believe when I hear things the first time because it motivates me. Man, so we got to make it past 20. Maya taught me that. Whether it's true or not, I believe it, and we got to do that, man. Go ahead, man.
yeah. I was going to say I watched the podcast as well. Some really like amazing points. Obviously, I don't want to touch on it too much because you've obviously got your own skill set. It doesn't matter what your age you are, having that skill set. But I think what I was just touching on was obviously because you are both younger, just like some of the things that I gained just from listening to your podcast was amazing. Just like your mindsets and just like you can see how essentially like really successful people are starting out younger. Like it's just the mindsets that you're having. And I was going to touch on a few things you said before, like about documenting your journey. And I think like keeping a trading journal is like one of the like really good things you can do because obviously with trading that creates like discipline as well. So obviously, even though you have made some losses, you'd be able to look back straight away and see what you made wrong, and then maybe think, oh well, maybe that's why I went wrong this time. But you've gained that experience to know for next time. And I think some of the best traders in the world have all got journals, and like it's how you rise up from your losses. Like you either gain the experience or you think you know it all and blame the market. But I think just the mindset you've had's great. And like you were talking about with influencers as well, the amount of people I see on Twitter who are like essentially like crypto influencers, like they're the best traders in the world, but they're always like that in bull markets. And then I always find that as soon as like a bear
This
market
isn't
starts,
financial advice.
yeah, NFA. But but obviously, like as soon as the markets go down, these influencers suddenly they're all taking like 3-4 month vacations, just perfectly coinciding with the bear market that's coming. But like you said, documenting your losses and that's giving other people chance to learn from like any mistakes that you've made as well. So I think it's really good just in sharing like knowledge with people because I know you do a lot of public speaking as well, like sharing your own experience. And I think that's exactly the approach to take with the market conditions as well. Because like you say, you can either sit around doing nothing consuming, or you can focus on this time on building and just seeing what you like doing. And obviously, with your vast skill set, there's loads of different avenues you can explore. And I think, and I've also torn my ACL, and the pain is absolutely horrendous. So I feel your pain on that. I remember when I did it playing football, I jumped up for a header and like landed, and I went to turn, and my knee had like popped out. But it's the pain after, you know, when you like your knee just like goes to like the size of a balloon. It's just that pain is horrible. But I'm glad you got it sorted out, because it can be so like deliberating just not being able to get about. But yeah, I know you were talking about the NFTs as well, so I was thinking maybe we could branch into that, unless you had any like response to what I'd said. But if not, we can move on to the art that you're producing, which I really like. But I'll jump over to you, man.
I just want to jump in and say, Maya, please tell me I'm right. Based on your history you've heard of men's, I'm sure you could take them in football, soccer now, right?
Yeah, most definitely. I love soccer and I practice it so much. I definitely do think I can beat you at soccer.
You might be able to beat me at soccer, but I play football.
Football. Yeah, I did mention you mentioned Maya's public speaking. I noticed that too. Maya, I mean, I'm not going to speak for all 15-year-olds, but when I was 15, I couldn't jump up on stages and record myself on YouTube and share the things that I've noticed that you've been doing. So, yeah, can you share a little bit about like what your public speaking journey has been like?
What? You said you couldn't like record yourself on YouTube? It's really simple. You just look at a screen that is not even a living thing and you just record yourself. Or you just look at yourself in the screen. It's pretty simple. I think, anyone can do that. You may not be good. Like I talk too fast now, I talk too fast then. But I don't know if people still watch, I guess. I guess some people could understand it, you know, out of the billions of people in the world. uh but public speaking, that I made a public speaking post on Twitter a couple of days ago, or maybe like a day ago, I don't know. And so that was actually the first time that I spoke in public about NFTs and investing in successful entrepreneurship. So that was actually my first time. It was really fun though. I'm happy that I was able to get some content from it being my first time, like so I can always look back on it because I think I should only get better, hopefully, or I'm gonna position myself that way. And I think in the beginning when I was speaking, I was very, very, very nervous, and so I would speak too fast, and I wouldn't look at the audience as much. But then my mom told me to like put some question slides. I was also presenting a slide or like a slideshow. So when they started asking questions, I really focused on them and saw how so many people were interested in the question. I mean, in what I was doing, and they asked a lot of questions. So that made me feel better. And after that, I guess I did pretty good. Yeah, so I recommend everyone to have a question slide. I don't know what it did for me, but it just helped me, I guess, and made me feel like people were actually interested because they were asking a lot of questions. It made me feel good.
If it helps, I have questions for you. So I'm ready. I'm ready for you, Mens.
Yeah, like you say, just sharing your own experience with other people, it just helps a lot. And obviously, you'll be helping like set up the future as well. Especially like you said, it was I think you said it was people your age, and just creating that spark in them just to get to like pursue their dreams, essentially, like you're doing. I think it's great. And I'm terrible at public speaking, so you'll definitely do a better job than me. I know we're in like speaking in a podcast, but I've got the safety of the screen, like you said. But we'll jump over to fun.
Actually, yeah, you brought up something that I wanted to ask Maya. Actually, back to Maya for a sec. It is so scary to talk to a screen just by yourself, in my opinion, because you have to look back on it. Like, all right, so I'll look at there's a metaphor, or I've heard people talk about this, like a comedian, for example, right? A stand-up comedian speaks to a crowd, and they wait for the response of the audience. It's harder for comedians who have moved to the digital world, who like do YouTube videos or do TikToks, or so they said, because it was a change, because there is no reaction from an audience. You have to just kind of trust that you like when you're with an audience, you say something and they respond and it gives you energy and you keep going. So uh, they used to argue that you have to like bring the energy by yourself without a response. So maybe you're not familiar with that because you just jump straight into YouTube and you have, and trust me, I'm telling you, that's a skill. Congrats on that. But something that Men said about people your age, Maya, I wanted to ask about like what your experience is, because I know that you are not the only teen that's in the trading world, that's in the NFT world, but you are definitely one that stands out, and you definitely deserve the spotlight. But what's your experience with like other people your age that have been interested in this stuff?
In real life or online?
Either or.
I guess so. I'll start with in real life and then go to online. So in real life, there's a lot of artists, and when I was speaking at that event, there's some artists that came up to me and want to talk more about it. The thing is, they're not really very interested in doing it. I guess because they could be privileged, or because it costs a lot of money to get to like first get into it. But I don't really know. They just don't seem just so determined to get into it, and so they don't really put so much effort into getting into it. So I haven't actually, well, I have onboarded someone to crypto and NFTs, but I haven't like onboarded an artist into crypto and NFTs yet from in real life. Online it's a little bit different, I guess, because they're already in the NFT space, so they already took the step to get on Twitter, to get in these NFT Twitter spaces and stuff, and to ask questions. So I've onboarded some artists that way. It's way easier because I guess they already are interested into it, and they actually want to take action, and are more determined. So those are the two, I guess, things. And kids my age, my friends, I don't talk to, well, I do talk to them about NFTs and stuff, but I don't really go really deep into it or really talk so much about it, because they're more interested in TikTok and sports and other things. I'm interested in those things too, so I just bond with them over what I bond with them on, which is
Yeah,
more.
isn't it arguably good though, right? Like you get a break from all this stuff with your friends.
Yeah, so I'm not talking about NFTs all day. I'm getting to know and learn about a lot of different things and enjoy a lot of different things, which I think makes me a more well-rounded person.
Yeah, great response there, mate. I've got a couple of questions based off that, really. So I know you said like a lot of people your age weren't really like that bothered or into it, but what like ignited your passion for getting into it originally? And as a follow-up question to that, where would you like to see yourself in 5 years?
Great question. So I'd say what got me into it originally is actually this kid, Zachary Cox. He gifted me an NFT, a Slacker Duck Pond NFT. And at the time, I was like, oh my gosh, NFTs are that stupid thing that my favorite investor always talks about when I want him to talk about stocks. And they sell for hundreds of dollars. So, yes, I will accept this gift and, set up the MetaMask or whatever it is. But you're going to have to tell me how to do it. And I'll accept it, and don't like feel like I'm just gonna keep it. My intention was to sell it for $100. That was a lot of money to me now, but as well as like very much so back then. And so that's what I did. And so, but I was trying to make sure I was getting the most out of it. So I was trying to figure out like how do you value NFTs, and like where's the best place to sell it and all of that. And so from learning all of that, it just made me more interested and investing into NFTs. And so I still have that NFT, but my intention was selling. But I just, after learning all about NFTs, and I decided to invest more into NFTs. And so, where do I see myself in 5 years? I see myself as just being kind of like an entrepreneur, doing cool things with art and everything. I don't know. I just like want to combine all of my passions, all the things that distract me from maybe school and other things, into a way that I can like monetize it, and I think that would be cool. So, like with NFTs, reason why I started my own NFT project, it combined my investing, art things, talking, all of those like passions that I have. I'm just interested in so many things into a way I could potentially make money off of it. and so it could support all my passions and me looking more into all these things, which I have done in the past couple months. And so, I guess that's kind of the long-winded answer to both of those questions.
I gotta just say that I there's something to be said about at least my generation. Just pretend that I'm like 99, okay? There's something to be said about my generation where when I was growing up and trying to find like my passions, I think the overwhelming amount of options was like scary, and that kind of like that saying you either fight or flight or you freeze, which a lot of people accept now. I think most people freeze or used to freeze, and that caused a lot of like crisis for people. But I think the new generation and just like the empowerment of like NFTs being like kind of reprogramming people to be like creators in their own right, no matter what they are, has kind of encouraged everyone to just find their way. And I love seeing that. I love hearing about that. And I hear you, Maya, saying like that you're just curious and passionate and bravely just jumping into things and figuring your stuff out. And I wanted to give you a shout out on that because you're facing this in a way the same problems we did, but you're not freezing, you're fighting, and it's so exciting to see. So congrats on that.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I'm fighting is just encouragement from other people like Zachary, my mom. They all encouraged me to do this because, I think everyone thinks about these different things, but they just never go after it. Mainly probably because they're not brave enough to do it or confident. And so I guess I get a lot of my confidence when other people tell me I can do it, or at least that's what's happened in the past. So when I, just get the confidence from other people, I guess I've always went after it, and I've done good. So I'd say it's mainly just because of other people being encouraging me and all of that. And so that's another reason why I would encourage anyone and everyone to go after what they want to go after, because they probably can do good. They just need that encouragement.
I think we before we get into the things that you're building, like your art and your podcast, I wanted to ask you one more thing about. I've noticed that, like for example, in your podcast, you are promoting others in a way, right? So I did want to ask about what your experience has been, or if you have any tips about the value of reaching out to people, initiating relationships, initiating partnerships, collaborations. Like for example, like we follow each other now, and I love that, and we set this up, and so I think that's like an undervalued skill that a lot of people tend to talk about, but not everybody's doing. So I kind of wanted to ask you about your experience with like just working together with others about stuff.
Yeah, I think there's something interesting that I listened to recently, which is like a lot of people consider all the people that follow them their friends and their connections, which is not. They'll connect and talk to, like, if they need something or if they want to help someone, they'll always go to the people that they know the most, and talk to the most. And so you can't really. It's not about like the people they follow or whatever. It's about the people they talk to, connected, conversated with the most, and make them feel valued. And so I started this recently. I'm thinking everyone that follows me, and then checking out their profile, and the three tweets that I like the most, I like them, and then ask them a question or so about it usually. So I've been doing that, and that's the stuff that most people who follow me, or I mean, most people in general in the NFT space don't do. And I saw one person do that, and I was like, whoa, that's smart. And so I just been doing that, and I think that you know sets me apart from a lot of other people. So that's one thing I've been doing, nurturing those relationships. And then as far as like the people that go on my podcast, it's mainly just right now, it's the first 5 people so far I've interviewed. It's people I've kind of already known. And Teresa, the one I guess you guys saw the sneak clip on, she reached out to me after seeing a post that I made about Benjamin's podcast. So I guess it's just that. And so that's kind of how I've done it. And I guess I would say there's so many tips I can give for podcasting, that I've learned so far, which is one. What I was doing before was I was just like letting anyone just speak about whatever, and I was just gonna kind of post it and edit maybe the first 5 minutes. But now I've changed that to where it's just I want to give value in every single minute. And if I ask a question that maybe is a bad question, or I get a bad answer that isn't very valuable, I'm just gonna delete it because it's not valuable to the person. it's just not valuable. And so I just want to give the most value. It may offend some people, but I don't know. I think I'm just trying to promote them and make them seem like the best person, because they do have a lot of valuable content. But if people can't see it because of a bad question I asked, I'm going to just delete it. And so I've done that with Teresa's. It's way shorter. It's only 33 minutes. So that's way different than the like hour podcast I had before. So that's one thing I'm doing. The second thing I'm doing is, I think I was at VCon, and these people only had 15 minutes to talk to these people. They asked them questions I would not ask if I only had 15 minutes to ask them a question. So now what I've started to do, with my podcast is the first 10 minutes at least, I'm just asking them questions, the best questions possible. Like literally, the first thing you're gonna hear in that interview is what is Teresa's secret sauce, and then tips for people who attend conferences, and then tips for people who are speaking at conferences. So it's just asking them the things that they're the best at, and getting all the secret sauce from each of those things that they're the best at. And that's kind of what I want to do so that I can learn from them. Then also just having maybe a couple consistent questions I ask each person, a couple random questions I ask each person, and just kind of doing that. Those are like the main tips I would say. And also another thing that's been amazing is like, how do I find people to know about my podcast and subscribe to it? It's not via just putting out the content on the podcast platforms. It's by going on social media, and taking clips of that podcast and posting it, like giving them kind of an appetizer to what the full meal or whatever is. And so just getting them kind of hooked on, there's value here. If you just click this button, you'll get all of it. And so it's kind of like that, and it's for free. And so I think that's been great. And so, doing that with Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, I've been posting all like the appetizers there, and I've been getting follows and people from there to share it. I mean, yeah, to share it on like their profiles. So for Instagram, Teresa shared it on her Instagram and on her art Instagram. So I got both like impressions from that, and they click it, they see the value, they engage with it, and they actually go and subscribe to the podcast if they really like what I'm doing. So that's what I've been doing.
Three things. One, I love the metaphor of the appetizer entree. Two, you are already like a expert marketer and you're awesome. And I just can't resist. Mya, what's your secret sauce?
Secret sauce to exactly what?
That's the question you said you ask others, so I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, so I guess I would say for entrepreneurship, my secret sauce is just like following my curiosities. Just following them and documenting me following them publicly. That's the thing that has helped me the most. So for example, with my art, I wasn't gonna start selling my art, but I was bored one day, and because my mom took my technology, and I drew my sister sleeping, and then I got my phone back and uploaded it to a Discord channel, an art channel. And by doing that, I people liked it and was like, you should mint that. And it's the first piece I minted and sold. And I didn't really, pursue it more. I thought that was like a one-time thing. But with encouragement, that encouragement from people who found me by documenting my curiosities publicly, they encouraged me to actually pursue it, and I did. So I think following my curiosities, I may not be good at it, and then documenting it publicly is what has helped me in stocks and NFTs, and those are the like main two things. And if I continue to do that, then I will continue to be successful.
Yeah, another great response. And I think, like you say, it's just gaining experience from different avenues. And it's better to have like your foot in a lot of different areas and then see which you really like and stands out. Because obviously you've got plenty of time in your life to pursue whichever stands out the most to you and whichever you feel like most passionate about. Because at the end of the day, everybody just wants to do a job, so to speak, that they enjoy, don't they? Because it doesn't feel like a job if you enjoy doing it. So obviously you've got, because you are very curious with like all the different avenues you're exploring, it just opens up so much potential. So I'm really excited just to see how you progress over the next few years. I think you're going to be a really influential person of the scene, and I've actually got I've been taking your podcast notes, so I've wrote it all down as well. I've nearly run out of paper. But
If we have another guest and you start the podcast with "What's your secret sauce?" I'm telling on you. I'm telling Maya.
No,
yeah,
that's the like whole point. Everyone should ask everyone like these questions. Like that's what I'd like to know. Or I mean, there was some great, it was great content that was at VCon, but I wish they would just ask those questions. And I guess another one that I've been asking everyone is like the 5 people they follow the most, because if you're the average of the 5 people you talk to or hang around the most, then that means I'm a math geek. I'm 2 years ahead in math, and so it's like you're gonna want to. That means that the people that you talk to the most, one of them at least, is most likely smarter than you. And so if I want to continue to progress and being a better entrepreneur, a better NFT artist, or whatever it is, whatever skill that is, then I need to figure out who you listen to, who you talk to, engage with the most, because that's how I can continue to get better. Not just learning from them, but also learning from the people that they learn from, and continuing to do that. That's how you can dive deeper and get better in whatever industry or skill that you're trying to learn. So that's
Yeah,
another question
there's
asking
a
everyone.
saying. There's a saying that says you shouldn't be the smartest person in the room. If you are, you're probably in the wrong room, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm never the smartest. Or that's also why I myself as never the smartest.
yeah. I was going to say I don't really have to worry about that. I think I'm usually the least smart person in the room. But yeah, I know we were talking a little bit about like your art and stuff, so I'd like to move over to that. Like I remember how we first met. Actually, I think it was in a space, and I discovered your art, and I just really drawn to it because I'd say it's more abstract, but it really stands out. And I've like had a look through your collections and stuff, and I was going to say, is there any piece that like what is your favourite piece within your one of one collection, and what like influences like did anybody influence your art style, or was it just something that you was it just like how you feel you express yourself, or was there any influences for it, and what was your favorite piece within the one of one collection?
Yeah, I think the critters in my Mya Parker one of ones are my favorite. And so, for people to engage with something, it has to connect with them. And for it to with art, for it to connect with them, it has to be from the artist. It genuinely, they connected with it. And so you can feel that. Or at least when I'm buying one of one artworks, at least, I have to really connect with it. And usually I can tell that, when the I've noticed when the artist really, really is passionate about it and really connects with it, it shows in the artwork and people can feel it. So that's what I did with those art pieces. I just think I thought about all of my experiences that I like the most and resonates with me the most and I remember the most, and documented it with my artwork. That's essentially what I did, and I wrote a description about it for people who are better with words, people who are better understanding with art. Those are two ways of communication, art and words and stuff. Um, I also did an art piece, and I just kind of documented my journey. For example, so I said my favorites were the critter, but one is like a roboto derivative, and it was like talking about how a lot of people feel like a robot. Also with my injury to my ACL, a lot of people feel like they're a robot. Like if they're not programmed to do this, then they fail. Like if they can't do sports and be the best at sports or the best at school, if they just can't be the best or can't do those things, they feel like I'm a failure. Might as well hang out with them and do these bad things. And so that piece was trying. All those pieces are trying to inspire people to take the right path and always do the right thing with all those things. And so those were actual experiences I had. I can talk about. I have a story to tell with them because I actually had them, and that resonates with people. For example, I had that piece out, that Roboto piece thing derivative, and I was talking to someone about like trying to sell an NFT or to trade an NFT for something, and they saw my NFT collections while we were doing this, and he really resonated with that Roboto derivative piece, because he said that he tore his ACL as well. So just being genuine and having a story and just documenting it is what I've been doing with those. And my favorite one is the critter. But I think the one that resonates with the most amount of people is probably that Roboto thing. I think a lot of people have, that sports, or they just, have a lot of different things with their childhood about sports, or tore the ACL or tore something at least before, and so they resonate with it, and so that's very important. People have to feel related. They have to have an emotional connection to engage with things, and so just showing it genuinely, having a story that has helped me a lot with my art.
Wow, I think you're right. I think, but it's just so cool that you've got that figured out already. Like, I we man, I love it. Congrats on all that. Like storytelling, inspirational, and then also artist. My great job on all that. Since you are in the art scene and you make art and everything, I guess it'd be a good time to ask, like, what do you think? What art or artists do you like? Where do you draw inspiration from? Like, which ones are some of your favorites?
Yeah, I draw inspiration with my art from experiences. That's what I think about the most, and so when I'm trying, I think art is like just a form of communication, communicating your thoughts. If you notice, a lot of artists aren't very good at speaking, and so they have to communicate with their art. And so the people who are worse at speaking that I've noticed have always been the best at art, and that's also in real life. And so that is kind of my opinion on art.
So that
Um,
means, Mence, you're probably an artist.
that is so mean, but you could be. It's just communicate in different. You can communicate in a different way, which is okay. And like you can make money even communicating in that different way, and be perceived as really cool, as you see in the NFT space. Mint, what do you think about that?
I'm used to being like a human punch bag at this point. But I was literally just going to touch on something you said then. I know you said a lot of people struggle to talk like in front of like people about their art and stuff, and I think obviously we do the mental health spaces and we get a lot of really talented artists in there. But I think one of the things is a lot of them struggle with anxiety, and obviously one of the main things about your art is essentially getting it out there and getting it noticed. And if that's something that you struggle with, if, for example, if you suffer from anxiety or anything, it can be like the most daunting task ever. Obviously, if you've got amazing work but you struggle to get it out there, then essentially you're not making sales. But I think, well, I like to call what we're going through now with the NFT thing. I think I like to call it like the second renaissance, because I think because there's that ability to for the artist to get their work out there, but obviously not have to directly interact with their consumers. Essentially, I think so many artists who would like who are amazing artists who wouldn't normally be recognised are now being recognised for their art. And I think as well, even with me, for it's happened with me as well. Just like with the boom of it all, it's just so many people who used to be into art, but obviously, like they've grown up, they got stuck in work, and as you get older, you're less involved with your passions, just because like life essentially intervenes with you being able to like spend time on hobbies and passions. And I think it's recreated, like it's brought a lot of people back to where they were with their passion for their art. And I've noticed, even like I was saying with myself, a lot of people are going back to like art when they didn't have a chance to before. And at the same time, like I said, it's helping artists who can't speak, or do suffer with, like, say, anxiety, for example. It's giving them the chance to get recognised for their work as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of Web 2, I guess, where it's all social media, TikTok, YouTube, blogging, writing, artists couldn't really succeed that much with that. I mean, it could help them, but it's a lot about speaking and writing and explaining your thoughts in those ways, which they're usually not the best at. What I think is interesting is the best, in my opinion, artists are never gonna be in the space and have NFTs because they're just not so well at speaking and stuff like that. And so I think my secret sauce with that has been like my art is not the best. Like when I see my art is like mid or kind of trash, is because when I see other artists, I see their artwork is like 10 times better than mine and it's not selling as much. And it's mainly just because you know it can't be found on OpenSea. They have to actually be on social media, specifically Twitter, to be able to speak about it and tell the story about it. Because or at least be on the space and speak, and then maybe they'll see it on your Twitter post and see the art is amazing, even if you can't speak. So I think those artists who can't speak well, and I still am pretty trash at speaking, just having your art out there, and maybe just getting someone to put a description. Maybe you can speak well with people who you love and like or your family. And you just can't speak in front of other people, and you can tell them about it, and then they can like write a description of or the story behind that art piece. And so I think for artists who just kind of have anxiety about that, just putting out their art there and just kind of being in the spaces, just speaking. You could be shy and could be horrible at speaking, but some people are gonna check out your profile. Percentage of them will do that, and they'll see the art and they'll see the story and they'll resonate with it and engage with it and potentially buy it. And so that's kind of my opinion on the NFT space. Like I think the best artists are most definitely not in the NFT space.
I think that what you're saying is great, because you're saying that even if it's not great, just put it out there, and something good could come of it just from sheer participation, just putting it out there, taking the risk, being brave enough to just jump in there. And I love that. I think that's a really good message. But I also wanted to say that I don't think your art is trash. It's great. I think that I think we're all critics of ourselves. Like we're our biggest critic all the time. Like it doesn't matter what I think. It's what you think of yourself, right? I think more than anything, I'm gonna butcher the quote. So I'm just gonna say there's a quote that's something like, when those that are like most critical of like their art in a way is kind of a reflection of just having really good taste, right? Like if I'm struggling to make a song, and it comes out like trash, it's because I have such good taste. I'm comparing it to like these awesome people. So there's something to be said about that. Like even if you're struggling with your art, you could always rely on the fact that you have great taste and you have high expectations for yourself. So even then, there's positive in those things.
Yeah,
And I thought I'd share that.
yeah. I look at like Nyla's art, Ferocious's art, Gavin Miller. Those are, to answer your other question, like some of my favorite artists in the NFT space. Teresa, she's 2 years younger than me, and her art is, in my opinion, way better. And I love her art style. I can't wait for the interview to come out. But she's just so good at art, and I look at it and I'm like, that's like the art I aspire to have one day. To kind of have art like them. And I just think like when I say trash, I don't really think of my art as trash. I have my art and I love it. I actually have some art here in my room, but I can't share it. Dang it! But I look at theirs and it's just so amazing and it inspires me. And I just feel like it's 10 times better than what I have, because I know how hard it is to do it, and it's like 10 times harder to do it. And so I just think, wow, you guys should definitely check out Teresa's art, Nyla Hayes' art. It's amazing. I like what about Nyla Hayes' art. She has like these. So she watched this dinosaur show that I watched too when I was growing up, and she's just very passionate about dinosaurs. And she's also passionate about artwork, and she's also passionate about like females and empowerment and all that stuff. So she was able to combine all these into NFTs and monetize it, which I think is amazing. And so she has these females with long necks to represent their confidence and to represent, her love for dinosaurs. And so that's the thing about it. And she just draws these people with long necks to represent those two things. And I think a lot of the female NFT projects, they're all kind of the same as far as the art style, just females with different features, or different, not different features, but different accessories. That's pretty much the only thing. And then draw maybe with a different type of stencil or pin or whatever. But Nyla's is different. It like actually represents females really well. And so I have one of her NFTs, and I have like multiple, but I have one long necky lady, and I like that, and I'm biased about all three of those projects. I have NFTs in all three, and I love them. Or no, I don't have Teresa's NFT yet. I'm gonna have to get one, but her stuff sells for so much, because she's amazing. But shout out to all three of those artists.
Yeah, great, Maya. I'm definitely gonna check them out. Sorry, check them out. And I think I won't touch too long on it because I know we're coming up to the hour, and I had another question that I wanted to ask. But I think this is obviously not financial advice as well. I think like with the way the market is at the moment as well, we are going to see like a bigger shift to more like one of one art. as opposed to like PFP things. And I think that's going to really boost like just the artistic talent within the scene, because I think that's going to draw people in as well. But yeah, some of my personal favorite. Well, my personal favorite is probably Matt Miller, because I absolutely love. I love like the rap. I don't know. It's just the palette that he uses, and just like the imagination he's got. Like you see certain people's art, and you think I couldn't even like conceptualize that, and you've literally like drawn it. So I just I am always in awe of talented artists. But I had one more final question. Obviously, you will be very busy with your entrepreneurship. So I was just going to say, how do you find balancing, like obviously being at school with your entrepreneurship?
Oops. Yeah, it's very hard. But I'd say balancing it is just like when I can't, there's always times in my life where I can't do something, and so that takes out that time where I have to do where I was probably, doing that, and just balancing it by changing it. Like if I can't do that anymore, just doing something else in that specific time. So with in the last year I couldn't do soccer and track, and that was one of my biggest suckers of time on the weekends, during the summer, after school. That would take up probably at least 4 hours of my day. No, I'd say like 3 hours of my day every single day. And so, changing those different things, that's over the last year, that's what has helped me. I'd say probably when I was, that's pretty much what has helped me. There was always just times in my life where I couldn't do something else, and I took the opportunity to do something else that I was passionate about and very curious about at the time.
Well, I think we're well said. By the way, I think we're kind of wrap this up because it's an hour in. But for everyone listening, for everyone who's interested, this is Mya, entrepreneur, artist, podcaster. What part of the world you're from? Mya, if people wanted to find your things, all the stuff that you're working on, where can they find it?
Yeah, so I have Mya Parker NFTs, which has all my NFTs. It's in my bio on Twitter, and my Twitter is at Mya L Parker,
Mya?
MyALParker. And so you can check out the link to the Mya Parker NFTs, and it's in my bio, and then the adaptives.
You've been on the podcast, Mya. You had so much great, insightful information to bring to everybody listening, and I think definitely one to watch in the space, because you're going to do amazing things. I can just sense it. I've got like a